guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We have a Les Paul, looks like a junior, but it's a real Les Paul. It's just not denoted as on the truss rod cover as exactly a standard or a special or a junior. Really pretty guitar, good customer. He's here for a restring. I've had this guitar in here a couple of times. He brings it to me when he needs work done. We are going to do a cleanup and a restring on it, and I'm going to just go through my regular measurements on it, so jump into it with me. Let's get to work. And you know the drill. Stand by. Okay, so you'll notice much clearer image. I did some camera work, and the video should come out nicer and cleaner. So you can tell he's a Patriot. This is new. I don't think this was on here the last time. I'm going to do some baseline measurements to check from the last time I had it till now. The strings are a little wonky. They're not terrible, but again, he's the same guy that has, an entry-level Stratocaster, a Mexican, nice guitar, one of my previous videos, but when he gets his guitar dirty, he brings it in to restring it and clean it. He likes the way I do my job on it. So I always check with a regular customer what I have done before and where I'm going to go moving forward. So let's just double check the neck relief first and foremost. I want to see where that is because the last time I had it, it was winter time, and wood can change. Actually, it seems a little loose, which is what would happen with higher humidity. So I'm going to have to adjust this truss rod. Really dirty. I don't know if the camera's picking up on that, but schmutz went across the guitar. So we're going to do a cleanup on the fretboard. We're going to clean up the body and everything. So not to sound redundant, but never cut all your strings off. But for me to clean up the pickups and the body and the neck properly, I'm going to take them all off. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to pause and then we'll get back after I get them all off. Stand by. Okay, so we have all the strings taken out of the pegs, and as an added bonus, and this happens from time to time, our nut decided to flop out. Put this down a little bit lower. Our nut decided to pop out from up here. Not a big deal. I'm going to guess that they probably didn't get enough glue to touch the surface of this to the bottom of the actual neck. That is an easy fix. In fact, the weird thing is, and this is so ironic, this is how I know God has a sense of humor. When I was working on his Fender, and I was restringing it and cleaning it and going through the same process, his nut on that guitar popped off as well. And as I was going along, and you've probably seen it in that video, as I was going along, I go, oh, there you go, a nice little added bonus. We got to fix the nut. Don't freak out. It's not a big deal. We just have to get it set back in there. You put ever so slightly touch it up with a little bit of glue there. I use wood glue on it. Do not use CA glue. You'll never get it off. At some later point in this guitar's life, somebody like me or another technician, another guitar luthier, might want to knock that out, and you want to be able to just tap it and drive it out. This one popped out way too easy, so we'll fix it for him. It's not a big deal. We have all the strings out. On these, we don't have to cut them off because the stop bar on Gibson's, I do have to cut them because they're all goony goo goo. Stand by. sorry for the glitchiness there. Okay, so we're going to scrub, we're going to clean, we're going to clean, we're going to clean, we're going to clean, 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 clean. Show you a little bit of that. You know the product I like to use, the good old Music Nomad. Great stuff for cleaning up bodies and getting goop, goony goo goo goop off of your guitar. Because, damn, it's dirty. Now, I don't know what he does and how he plays in his band in his church, but every guitar he brings to me has got the same splatter pattern of sweat, DNA, whatever he's splattering across his guitar. I don't know. Maybe he's drinking an Orange Julius while he's playing, and it's spattering. Don't like it, but that's what he's here for. We're gonna clean it up. Try not to mess those up too much because that's our string height. Seem like they're in there pretty secure. Don't want to turn them around. It just makes more adjustment later on. Even the pickups, it's all over the pickups, the pickup rings. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but boy, goopy, 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 goopy. Stop turning, damn it. Get them clean. They don't have to be perfect, because the only way to get it perfect is to completely dismantle a guitar and go at it. And we're not doing that. This is a cleanup and a restring. I'm not even going to pull his knobs off because don't need to. Just clean it up. I'm going to have to set the string height anyway in the setup, so we'll get to that. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Alright, get out of there. You want to be such a pain in the butt? Come over there. Get down in there and clean it. Happy with that? You happy now? I pulled you all the way out. I'm going to go with the string height lottery and say right about there. Okay. I know I'm going to have to adjust the stop bar. I checked it with the paper to make sure that where it goes over the saddle, the bridge and the saddles, you want your strings off of your stop bar. You go through the stop bar and just miss there. You don't want them to touch, but you want that stop bar as low as possible to get the best possible break angle without touching the back of the bridge. Okay, so refer to other videos for that tutorial. I'm going to pause it quickly while I clean up the neck and the headstock. You've seen that a million times. Stand by. Okay, we're back. Big questions always pop up. Why do nuts pop out? Well, I'll tell you. Glue dries, it gets brittle, and it pops out. And sometimes it doesn't take the least little bit amount of pressure to make it pop out. What you always want to look for is there any tear out and material attached to the bottom of the nut from the actual neck wood, not the fretboard. You don't ever want to glue it to the fretboard. You put a little bit on the bottom and you tap it down in there and let it find its home. I use good old-fashioned wood glue on it. It does not need a lot. As I said in the first part of this video, at some point or another, I may want to knock this nut out of here and put a new one for whatever reason. And if it's not me, it's going to be some other guy. The thing that actually holds these in there is the string tension clamping it down on there. It doesn't need much to hold it in there. It just needs to be clean and flush, and I always squeeze out way too much glue. Get rid of that, and that's it. That's all it took. Just a little bit of a toothpick and some good old-fashioned you-know-who's glue, wood glue. I'm not going to say the name, but it's right there. A little bit of push out right there. Probably right there too. And then all you really want to feel for is to make sure that it is completely flush where it used to live before. Now we're going to let that dry for just a few minutes, because as I said, it's really the strings that are going to clamp it down. Usually when you put wood glue on something, you put a clamp and wait for it to set. The strings are what are actually going to clamp this. I'm not going to put a clamp on that, because we're going to restring this guitar. And once those strings go over there, I just have to be slightly aware that we just glued that, and to make sure that we have it where we want it. So it can move, but once the strings get on there and settle, it's going to dry, and tomorrow that thing will be rock hard. Where are my bionic eyes? Ah, there they are. Yeah, I'm going to be perfectly happy with that. Sorry about the top of my head, folks. But you only get one chance to set it in there. Okay, so while that's drying, I had already cleaned up. I scrubbed and dressed the fretboard again. I'm going to let that dry for about 15 minutes, just enough so that it doesn't slide easily. And then we're going to continue on, restring it, and then check all of our adjustments in a normal setup, because that's really all this guitar needs. It doesn't need a whole lot. This is a really nice, real Les Paul. So it's an entry-level Les Paul, but it's still a Gibson Les Paul, made in the USA. So stand by. We're back, and what we're going to do is put some strings on this now. You know, my string of choice, Ernie Ball 10s, and that's. This guy's gotten to love them, and he always asks me every time he gives me the guitar, what are you going to put on it? What kind of strings? Well, of course I'm going to put Ernie Balls, because that's what you get every time. Pencil, graphite, down in the nut slots. You think you're not putting anything in there, but you are. And I can still see from the last time, graphite is a natural lubricant, and it doesn't move, and it helps the string go in and out over that nut. Just a little tiny trick of the trade, call it what you want. So what we're going to do on these, I like to put them all through first on the tailpiece, the stop bar. Okay, you get them all through there. One at a time. That will be the E. And the A. I'm spending a little video time on this because the last Les Paul I did, I got a few comments and said, you didn't show us everything on how to put the strings through the stop bars. Oh, I'm showing you now. And this is how I was taught, so this is how I do it. Line them all up, get them ready to go, one at a time. But then when you put that stop bar in there, all you got to do is pull each string as you need it and do your windings. E, A, D, G. E, A, D, G. B. B as in boy. It's amazing how often I review my videos, and when I say B, it sounds like D. I always say B as in boy. And then we're going to put our high E. 10. That's how you know they're 10s. You also know if you take a caliper and you measure the strings. But for today's exercise, we don't need to do that. We're just going to trust Ernie Ball knows what he's doing. So that's it. They all go through there. They all sit in the back of the stop bar. They're all lined up here just like they're supposed to be. Now we just slide that in there. Now with Gibsons it's a little tricky because you got to get that first string and you have to hold that on there. So as we do in previous tutorials and videos, get all your peg head holes lined up in the same direction. I already checked all the tightness and everything here. I get them to go this way and that way so that they're lined up in the orientation of where the string is going to come across and find its home. There's saddle. I want the bevel to go down. I want the intonation screws to be facing out that way. You see how easy that wants to pop out of there. Those strings over there. I'm going to start with the low E. And this is where it gets tricky because the stop bar always likes to pop out on the first one because there's nothing holding it in there except string tension. So just make sure saddle, nut. We're going to live here, 1.5. Bend it. Bring it back. And you've seen this exercise a million times. I want it to go around counterclockwise because you want it to go on the inside of the peg. The first wrap above the string peg hole and all successive wraps underneath. This is a repetitive exercise. You know that string will be locked in there. And before I get any tension on there, I want to make sure my nut has not moved. Remember, we just glued that. You just got to get a really good look at it before I get some string tension clamping force on it. Make sure that it is completely flush on the low E side and completely flush on the high E side. We are golden. Yep. Okay. So that first string is going to clamp that in there. Now, you know I'm kind of a nut with my nuts. When I glue those, I want to put low E and high E. That way I've got clamping force on both sides. It's not going to want to tend to pull it up from being clamped on this side and not the other side. And then we'll do the rest of the successive stringing as it follows. So we are in our saddle. The stop bar is secure. 1, 2, and with the smaller strings, a little bit more maybe, because they're going to take some more wraps. Well, once I get these two in there, I'm not going to worry about that nut again. Alright, something goony goo-goo on me here. Always the E string. It always gives you the most trouble because it's so small. What are you doing? Where are you? Alright, here's my pen above it. Sometimes you got to do this. Sometimes it's a little bit of a trial. Get it above and then below. And that, I guarantee you kids, will lock it in place. Sure, we're in the saddle. Got our wraps going which way we want. Clamp down. Let's take one good look at it. First one above, every successive wrap under it, nice and clean, like it. And the nut is in position where it belongs, perfectly flush here, perfectly flush there. We're in our saddle. So now I do not have to worry about that nut that we just glued in there. I know that it's going to be held securely, and I can continue on with the rest of the strings in order, E, A, D, G, and so on. A little bit past, bend it. We're in there. Let's get it started. As soon as you get that first wrap that goes underneath, pull your string, your excess string up. Watch your wraps, watch your saddle. Make sure that you're living where you're supposed to be in the saddle and the nut, and that you're locked in with 3 wraps. Sometimes I sound like a broken record. Stand by, I'm going to do the rest of these. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're restrung. I'm just getting to measuring the string height, and then we're going to go back and, of course, check the neck relief. I think we're going to need to adjust that. String height needs to come up slightly. We want to be at 5/64 on the low E. We want to be at 3/64 on the high E. That's exactly where we're at on the high E, 3/64. The low E needs to come up. It'll play fine, but I think the action's a little low for where he needs to be. You kind of need to detune it a little, which is fine with new strings. And then we're gonna, I love the Gibson Tune-O-Matic bridge should give us just enough, a little bit more. Remember, I was screwing around with those, and I played the lottery. I won on the high E, but I lost on the low E. Need to bring the action up slightly. Feels like it's getting tight, so I don't want to bend the strings over the saddle. If you're bringing them up, you got to loosen the strings slightly, detune them. If you're going down, it doesn't matter, but we're in the process of going up. Bring it up slightly, and it's possible this could change once we tune it again, but then we'll be okay. Or say 5/64 there, and like that. Maybe come up slightly on the high E side. Slightly, and I mean ever so slightly. And we're checking these measurements at the 12th fret. Let's tune it and see what happens. Bear with me. This is the D. Let's get there. B. Or I'm sorry, G. I like the way that tuner feels. Remember, brand new strings, they're gonna continue to go flat for a little while. I have not stretched them yet. I'm gonna get to that. Yeah, that tuner's a little wonky there. Always the G. I don't like that at all. It is maybe catching. Aye, come on, baby, you can get there. Okay, let's check that string height one more time. We should be happy with that. 5/64 and right at 3. I'm going to lower this one down slightly. I thought I was going to lower it down slightly. Got some string tension on it. Doesn't want to quite move. There we go. I'd like it to be as low as possible, and there's no excuse for not getting it exactly where you want it. you fighting me? You want to detune them all. Doesn't want to go down, and I'm not going to fight it. Usually when you have it tuned up to go down, it's not you. There we go. Yeah, it just quite didn't like having all that tension. Slightly down. Okay, I'm going to live with that. I know this seems tedious, but this is what we go through. Always the G string. Once I get everything set where I like it, I'm going to stretch the strings, which is going to start this process all over again. One more time. Dead on. And they should tail off as you get to the lower side, which is exactly where we're at. I like that. 5/64ths, 3/64ths. Let's get a piece of paper. Oh, you know what? We can use this. You've seen this little trick before. I think there's way too much there. Okay, so this one needs to come up slightly because the E string is actually bumping right on the tail, the saddle. I don't like that. So this one's going to come up slightly, and this one's going to go down. And I do not like to put the screwdriver on that. I can double fold this and it'll work. You just don't want to mess up the chrome. So we're bringing this one up, which is, again, this could change our tuning. Ever so slightly. Oh, he's really slammed on there. I have a feeling that somebody else has been putting a screwdriver on my work. Tail piece is really bumping on there. Really bumping on there. I don't know why he would. There we go. We're starting to get under there. Well, we're getting to the end of it. I don't like that. But I would rather it be all the way up. All it's got to do is miss it. This side has to go down. These are too far away. Get out of there. There was too much of a gap on the low side. And not enough on this one. I'm going to pull this one up one more quarter of a turn. just because I can. I get these guitars in here all the time, and I don't know. Somebody read something somewhere on the internet. Oh no, you want your tailpiece slammed all the way down to the body. Well, that's all well and good, but if your string is touching your saddle as it rides over there, you're going to have all kinds of problems, because the string needs to move up and down over that saddle point and your nut point here, when you're bending the string, or even when you're just forming a chord, you're pulling tension down onto the fretboard, and that string needs to slide freely across there. Well, all you're really concerned with is that you have a really good break angle, which we do, and it's not touching the saddle, the bridge, anywhere. So that has been adjusted properly. And don't believe everything you read on the internet. Be careful, because if you slam that all the way down to the body, and that every guitar angle is different. These set necks from the factory at Gibson, they know what they're doing. They have been building guitars for decades and decades and decades. But every guitar is going to be a little bit different. The neck angle, the break angle, and how that neck is glued into that body on that particular day is going to determine what this angle is. And that's why these things are adjustable. Therefore, I think we're going to be good. Now, if I check this neck relief and we get more neck relief in there, it could change this slightly, but not a lot. Not a lot. One final tuning. See, we changed all that down there so that your pitch changed slightly, plus your strings are still stretching. I like that. Let's just check one more time. Yep. Yup. Now, here's where you may have to make a final adjustment. I think it's a little loose. I'm going to pull that truss rod cover off. I'll be right back. Okay, so this guitar is done. Last little thing that we always check, and this should be the same from the last time I worked on it, is your pickup height. That one's a little low. Perfect. The bridge pickup is a little low. There's my little screwdriver. These things do not usually go out of adjustment. Which tells me that my customer has been putzing around with this thing. Because it should never... Alright, I can see the thing raising up. Why is it not measuring? That's better. There we go. Just a slight little bit more here. I don't know. People get their guitars home and they putz around with them. They don't know what they're adjusting and they don't know what they're changing. And that's okay. I get it. Sometimes you want to get adventurous And good luck with that, because if you knock it out of whack, it's just more work for me to do, which is going to end up costing you $1 or $2 more. I like that. Intonation is set. We have a good break angle here. You can tell paper slides right under there. That's what you're looking for. I know this seems odd, but that's what it is. I can't change the neck angle and the way that it was set into the body. I can only adjust what Gibson has given us to adjust and set it to parameters that are widely accepted. Every guitar player is a little bit different. He may come back to me and say, that's a little bit different from the last time. Who knows? But usually once I've worked on a guy's guitar a couple of times, I know where he likes it, and that's where I set it. I keep notes. So cleaned up, restrung. I did adjust the neck relief slightly, but it has gotten horribly humid, which means his neck, tried to change a little bit, and it had a little too much bow in it, or not bow, but banana in it. It was relaxed too much, and so I brought it up and got a little bit tighter, and then of course I had to reset the string height. Beautiful little guitar, plays like a dream. All the electronics work. It's clean, it's ready to go. I'm Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Guys and girls, have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.